Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some banana bread because I got a lot of bananas I need to get through. And then we're going to do a chicken, kind of a barbecue chicken grilled cheese, and a salad with some homemade creamy balsamic dressing. So let's start by getting our banana bread going. So I had to put them in the fridge because they were just sitting and then all of a sudden they unpeeled themselves on my little banana tree. So I still have like 4 more bananas that I need to use up. So this is the first banana recipe, soon to be more. But my kids love banana bread, and I'm actually going to do a banana spice bread today using some pumpkin pie spice because it's fall. Let's throw our peels away, and then I'm actually going to put my beaters in, and I'm going to kind of smash up the bananas. The riper the bananas, the better, but this is going to allow them to kind of get nice and smushed. There we go. And pretty good. So I've already got a good mashing here. I'm going to add in a cup of brown sugar, and then we'll mix it again. And that brown sugar will actually turn this into kind of like a banana soup. So we want 1 whole cup of brown sugar. I'm going to pack it in. And while you can use granulated sugar for this, the brown sugar, I think, just gives it a richer flavor, which will pair really well with the pumpkin pie spice that we're going to be adding in. So that's why I'm using brown sugar. I think it just gives it a nice kind of caramel note on it. I'm going to mix this up in here. And I'm going to really whip those bananas into that sugar. There we go. And as you can see, we have more of a banana soup now than our base. So let's add in our butter and our eggs. We'll give it a quick whip. The one thing I like about banana bread with making it with the hand mixers is I can really mash it up here, and I'll add in all my ingredients. But when I add my flour in, I want to be careful not to overmix. So these are great for, really mashing up the bananas, but just have to be a little bit careful once you get to the flour part. So we have 1 stick of melted butter, so 1/2 cup of melted butter, and then we're going to do 2 eggs. So 1 and 2. We're going to whip these in here real quick. Okay, and now we are going to add in our salt, baking soda, and pumpkin pie spice and vanilla. So we're going to add in a teaspoon of salt. And the salt is key because it really is going to help mellow out the sweetness of the bread. Salt is a flavor enhancer. It's going to bring out the banana as well. And we're going to use a teaspoon of baking soda. So the egg and the baking soda are going to be our leavening agents for our banana bread, our mini loaves. I want to make sure I don't have any clumps in here. There we go. So 1 teaspoon. And then we are going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract and then a tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice because we really want that spice to come through. So we've got our teaspoon of vanilla extract and then our pumpkin pie spice. Now you could also use cinnamon instead if you're not like the big fan of all the spices in pumpkin pie spice. Cinnamon works great in here. That should be good. And if you haven't used your pumpkin pie spice since last fall, it might be a little bit more dull in flavor, so you might need to use a little bit more. Spices, they don't go bad, but they dull out the older they are. Okay, let's give the quick whip of these in. Want to make sure that baking soda gets dispersed throughout our little batter here. And that way you don't have to do the process of sifting it into the flour. Okay. So now we're going to add in our flour, but for this, because I don't want to over mix it, I'm actually going to move to my spatula for mixing this in, because in order to get that nice fluffy banana bread, you don't want a dense one. You want to mix it until it's just barely combined. And that's because we're using a butter base for our banana bread, which I think gives it great flavor. But if you over mix it, you will get a stiffer end product. So now we're going to use 2 cups of all-purpose flour. So 1 and 2. Slide this over, and then we are going to just mix these until they are just barely combined. And then I'm keeping my banana loaves just simple today, so I'm not going to add anything else into them. But you could definitely add in chocolate chips or walnuts, pecans, you know, anything that you like to add into it. You could definitely add it in at this stage. There we go. So again, I'm just going to mix it around until, you know, the white flour part is mixed in, but I don't want it to be over mixed. You want a nice chunky, thick batter. And I'm just going to do a couple scrapes along the bottom just to make sure I don't have any pockets of flour, anything hiding from me. Okay.
I have a question. If you use brown butter, would you need to add water?
No, if you use brown butter, you totally could do it the same. You would just want to make sure your browned butter cooled to it, but you would use still a half cup of brown butter, and then just let it come to room temperature before mixing it in. But that would work just great. It actually would give it a nice caramely flavor to it. Okay, we're going to spray up our little loaves. Because I like to bake my banana breads in mini loaf pans, because I find, you know, baking in a full loaf pan, it takes a long time, like an hour to bake. But doing it in mini loaf pans takes like 20 minutes and they don't dry out. I always feel like the banana bread, when you do it in a full loaf, that first, like the middle is perfect, but then the rest of it really dries out. With the mini loaf pans, it's all moist all the way through. Okay, I'm going to start by scooping off a little bit in each one of my mini loaves here, and then we'll come back and even everything out. Now, you could also do these in muffins, you know, tins, and you would just cook them up about 2 minutes less. Or if you wanted to do it in the big loaf pan, that would take like almost an hour to bake. So, in various ways, you can cook it up. All will be delicious. I think the nice part about this recipe is you have both the brown sugar and the pumpkin spice kind of working together with your bananas for just a really lovely kind of fall twist on banana bread. Here we go. And again, just keep going through until I have about equal in every single one. Here. I'm going to give it a good shake, and then we'll see which ones. They're all about pretty even. We've got a little bit more to add in each. I don't like any of it to go to waste, especially with how expensive butter is nowadays. I always sit there and I'm like, is it really $5 a pound of butter? Just seems like a lot. But I just love butter in my baked goods. I feel like it gives you that bakery texture and flavor. And, you know, you just can't beat it. It keeps it nice and moist too. There we go. Okay, so I've got these about evened out. We'll give them a good shake, and then we'll pop them in the oven. You know, wash my hands real quick. So this is our pumpkin spice banana bread. And then before I pop them in the oven, anywhere that you have just a little smudging on your baking sheet, clean it off now with a paper towel. It will be much easier than trying to scrape it off later. So just kind of run through and clean that off. That way you're not working so hard. You could also right now, if you wanted to, sprinkle like cinnamon sugar over the top of this and it would have a nice sugar crust. So lots of ways to do it, but let's go pop this in the oven at 350 for, we're gonna do it for 20 minutes. Now, I always like to set it a few minutes early in case my oven decides to cook up fast. So 20 minutes should be about perfect, but it could take up to 20, 22, 23. I'm going to push it towards the back at 350 and we're going to set our timer. Okay, we are ready to work on our grilled cheeses and our salad and our salad dressing. So I'm going to grab, so last night I baked up 2 sourdough loaves. The first loaf is gone. We had it with our beef stew and I kept my more oblong loaf for our grilled cheeses because it makes just delicious ones. But here is our traditional sourdough. I had this actually cold proofing in the fridge for 2 days and I got a pretty awesome pop out of it. So it will be delicious. But let's get our chicken seasoned up and start cooking off.
Marla sent you good.
Oh, well, thank you, Marla. We appreciate that. I have 2 chicken breasts here. I'm going to fillet them in half and then we'll cook them up. And what we'll do is the ones that are going to go on our sandwiches, I'm going to keep, whole, and then we'll take off and I will slice up the ones that are going to go in our salad. I'm just going to cut off any fat that I see sticking out on this chicken because it's just going to be rubbery. And then we'll fillet this guy in half too. And this is going to allow it to cook up much faster in our pan. When you're cutting it, try to cut against the grain. That's going to leave your chicken breasts more tender. Here we go. Let me wash my hands. And we're going to season these guys up. And I'm going to do just a really simple seasoning on these today. Because we're going to kind of season them a little bit afterwards. So I'm just going to do a basic, my Worcestershire, garlic, salt, paprika, onion powder, and a little bit of Mrs. Dash's original blend for this. And that's because we're going to add a little barbecue sauce on for our sandwich, but we'll keep the other chicken plain for our salad. And I feel like these spices will go well with our barbecue sauce. Add a little bit of paprika. There we go. Do our garlic salt. And then once we get our spices on this side, we'll flip them over and do the same on the other side. You want to make sure you have it well seasoned because nobody likes bland meat. Here we go. And then I'm going to grab some tongs here and we'll flip them over. And before we start seasoning them up on the other side, I'm actually going to pour my oil into my pan so it can start to heat up and get ready to saute our chicken.
You got a comment that because of you, they upgraded their garlic salt to the big tub.
Oh, yes. The garlic salt is the best secret ingredient that you can add to your cooking. That is really no extra work, but it adds such a great flavor. We're going to put about a tablespoon or so of olive oil in here. It's because I have a big pan, but I do love my garlic salt. I feel like it makes everything taste better. We're going to go back with our Worcestershire, do a light little drizzle on this side as well.
You have a question? How long have you been cooking?
I have been cooking since I was 13 years old. I actually started taking over cooking family dinners. I started with like one night a week, and then I slowly picked up to where I was cooking all the family dinners. I love cooking. I've always loved cooking. and having fun and experimenting with different foods. So that's about going on. It's not quite 25 years because I'm 37, not 38, but almost 25 years of cooking. A little garlic salt here. And then we'll finish off with a little bit of paprika. So all the same seasonings that we put on the front side, we're putting on the second side. There we go. And then this is just going to give it a nice, lovely flavor for it. And then, they'll kind of do it's like a quick marinade. So we want to do more spices on it instead of less. While we're waiting for that to heat up, I'm going to just prep our sourdough bread for our grilled cheeses. So again, look at our beautiful, I love it when I get the good peak on it. We've got a nice golden crust on there. And I always do what they call a blonde bake. So I keep it very light, and that prevents my crust from getting too crunchy, but is more chewy, which I like. I'm not a big fan of having the cream, but I'll show you guys the crumb reveal. Look at our beautiful sourdough. Lovely. And it's going to be perfect for our grilled cheeses. Now, for our grilled cheeses, try to not cut your sourdough too thick. Otherwise, it will take forever to heat through. And let's get here. I'll have one massive sandwich.
You have a question? What type of sandwich are you making?
So I'm going to do a barbecue chicken grilled cheese. We're going to use cheddar cheese. We're going to cook up our chicken, add a little barbecue sauce, and then some red onions for it. So it'll be delicious. I was trying to think. I was looking in my thing. I haven't been doing grilled cheeses in a while because in the fall, I do a lot of grilled cheeses or grilled cheese type sandwiches with our sourdough because I make a lot of soups because I could eat soup every single day. I love it. But I have to restock my cheese drawer because I was like, I only really have sliced cheddar cheese. So I had to kind of think what goes well with cheddar cheese. Okay, these two are good. This one was a little thick right there, so I'm gonna just try to even that out just a little. I know I'm like, I need to get a bread slicer so I can have like a nice, perfect slice. But again, who needs all of that equipment? And I will say, sourdough is amazing. And this is what's left of it. So we'll save that for more sandwiches or whatnot for it. Let's add these two together. I'm going to make sure their peaks are. Always pick the ones that have the nicest outsides so that it cooks evenly. Okay, let's get our chicken in here. It should be nice and hot.
You have a question? Do you ever add whole wheat flour to your sourdough?
So, actually funny, I was just talking about how I wanted to start doing some whole wheat and do a whole wheat starter. With sourdough, when you use whole wheat, you're going to get more of that sour taste to the sourdough. And while I love the strong sourdough taste, not everybody in my family does. I told you, my 13-year-old son always says he doesn't like sourdough bread. But last night, I was just like, you like the sourdough bread from Cheesecake Factory. You like it from Panera's. He wouldn't try mine. He tried it, and then he ate a huge slice. But he wouldn't give me I actually do like it. He wouldn't tell me that. But I knew he did like it. So I want to try it because I love the really sour sourdoughs. And that's what you get from using like a whole wheat in there and a whole wheat starter. It produces more of that fermented taste to it. So I've done a couple loaves of it before, but I don't do it often for my family because of that. But we're getting into fall season where I make a lot of soups and we go through a lot of bread. So I'll do that. Let's see. I'm going to turn this on to about a 5 to cook. So kind of a medium high. And let's start prepping our ingredients for our salad. And then we're going to make our homemade dressing. I picked a bunch of fresh herbs from the garden for it. And we're going to use up this I was like not about to take another head of romaine out. I had a big one here. And I'm actually going to do more of a chopped on it just so it's a little bit easier to eat. Now I find when I don't buy bagged lettuce often. Now I do sometimes, but bagged lettuce goes bad pretty quick. If you buy the heads of romaine, they will stay fresh. They don't go brown, and they will last for like 2 weeks. And they're actually this one, which is still really, really great. I bought 2 weeks ago. And so I just keep it in my fridge and have a little paper towel wrapped around it, and they last forever, which is nice because then I'm not always buying bagged stuff and then it goes to waste if I don't use it. We're going to do a pretty heavy cucumber salad today because I love cucumbers. This is an English cucumber, which means it's got that nice, delicate skin on there. It's not the chewier skin, which will be great in here. Baby cucumbers are also really great in salads. If you have just the traditional cucumber, that like it's called like a Bonnie Blue or a Bonnie Bell one, those have tougher skins, and I always recommend peeling them before putting them in your salad because otherwise that skin is just really chewy. But with baby cucumbers and English cucumbers, you don't have to worry about that. Here we go. So again, doing a cucumber heavy salad on here because it will be really, really fresh, and I think it's going to pair really well with my homemade dressing. And I got to go grocery shopping. I was totally sitting there and I'm like looking at it. And I'm like, hardly any. I have like no tomatoes. And I'm looking at there and I'm like, oh, come on, tomato plants. I know you will turn one day for me. Look at our beautiful sears on our chicken here. This is lovely. And I'll let that cook up. And again, we're going to use part of this on our grilled cheese and part of it in our salad. But I went out there and I was like, please have some red tomatoes. And I was like, nope. I had just a few baby ones. And I was like, okay, I guess we're not going to have tomatoes in our salad today. Let's do our red onion. Again, my red onion today I'm going to use in my salad and in my sandwich. With red onions, try to, as much as possible, to avoid cooking with them. Red onions lose a lot of their flavor when they're cooked, and they also lose their texture. They get more mushy and bland. So really stick with the, yellow onions, Valdalia, sweet onions for cooking with.
You have a two-part question. Do you have the whole hex-clad pan set, and do you love them?
I don't have everyone in there, but I do have the 12-inch, 10-inch, 8-inch frying pans, and then I have the griddle pan. I have for my pots that I use Le Creuset when I'm making soups, and then I have metal ones that I use for boiling from the all-clad section, and I've had those since I was married, so I didn't feel the need to get the hex-clad pots because I had great pot, there. But I absolutely love their nonstick, their frying pans, and their griddle pan here. I got mine about 2 years ago, and I have yet to scratch them. They are, as Gordon Ramsay says, they are pretty indestructible. I'm not a gentle cook. I am, always moving around doing things. And I'm going to put these over here for our sandwiches. So I beat my cookware up, and they have lasted 2 years with me, and they look just as good as they were dating. I think they cook great. They clean up really, really nice. So it's not a lot of scrubbing on there, which is, that's always nice because, yes, people love to cook, but nobody likes to clean up afterwards. So that makes the cleaning up a little bit easier. Okay. But yes, I do. I actually have them in my Amazon storefront. All the ones that I have in there because I do highly recommend them. And I was the one too. I was skeptical at first because they are a bit more expensive for pans, but they have lived up to the hype. So we're going to add in some sweet peppers. Whew, that red onion is about to make my eyes tear. There we go. And then I'm going to throw in my really sad 4 cherry tomatoes that I picked from my garden today. I said, eventually, I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to have more tomatoes than I can do anything with. And no, I won't. They're just going to taunt me. And I'm just going to have to make fried green tomatoes because I really don't think they're ever going to turn. I have had tomatoes on my tomato plants that have been green for almost 2 months now. They're like, I don't know if I just bought green tomato plants, but they just like to taunt me.
Yeah, but are you a fan of broccolini?
I do love broccolini. I think it's great. My family does not agree that it's as good as broccoli. I think it's better than broccoli. And I just think they need to be converted over time. I think they're just, I just think my family can be difficult sometimes and not respect all of my food things. Like, let me grab this for the chicken. Last night, I made my delicious beef stew, and everybody but my 10-year-old liked it. And she was like, that's what we're having for dinner. She goes, can you just pick out the meat for me and give me some barbecue sauce? And I'm like, what? She's like, I think it would be good with barbecue sauce. And I'm like, this is so weird. And I'm like, no. I'm going to let's see, I'm actually going to put these two for our salad and these two for our sandwiches. That way we can chop it up. Let's start on our sandwiches, then we can finish up our salad because that takes a little bit longer. Move that off. I'm going to start heating up my griddle pan here. And I'm going to just start it. I'm going to start getting it hot at an 8, but then we'll turn it down to like a 4 when we're adding it down there. We are going to butter up one side of each slice of the bread. That way we get this nice kind of delicious, butter crunch on the sourdough. I will say my 10-year-old did eat a big slice of sourdough last night. So, she may have picked out the meat. I did not let her eat it with barbecue sauce. I was like, I'm sorry, you can't do that. I was like, not going to happen. You can eat it. She ate it begrudgingly. She's my pickiest eater. And, I actually think she might actually like broccolini if she gave it a fair shot. She's the one who likes broccoli. Now, I always say she's a picky eater, but she's a very, very healthy eater. I remember one time, and this is funny, she really wanted me to make her salad, and I was tired at night. And I was like, I don't want to make you a salad right now. And she goes, please. And I was like, why don't you have some chips? And then I sat there and I'm like, I'm telling my daughter to eat chips instead of making her salad. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get up and make you a salad. I didn't want to make one at the time, but she loves salads and tomatoes, red pepper, like sweet peppers, and like guacamole, hummus, salmon. She loves all that stuff, but give her french fries or any potato and she's like, no. Make her soup, won't even try it. Okay, we're going to start with our cheese here. We've got to make a nice little layer, kind of origami, or not origami, kind of mosaic it on here. You want to make sure your cheese doesn't come over the edge because I'm going to turn it down now because it's nice and hot. If you have it hanging over the edge of your bread, it will melt down and burn on your pan, and we don't want to lose any of our delicious cheese. So just kind of peel it to make it fit. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to do my nice thin layer of onions here. And this will add just a nice little bit of crunch to it, and a little spiciness that I think will be delicious. And then let's add our chicken here. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to cut this and see if I can fillet it again on here so that it will cover the whole part of my sandwich. So we're going to do kind of a double fillet. It's very hot though, so let me grab my tongs. There we go. If I had waited to let it cool, it might work a little better, but there we go. So now we've got 2 thinner pieces of chicken that will fit beautifully across our sandwich. And then I'm going to do it with this as well.
You have a 2-part question. Do you post recipes, and is there a tutorial for sourdough bread?
Yes. So I upload my videos to the link on our page for everyone to, access and whatnot. I do post recipe cards for my members about once a week. I put up about 3 recipe cards from the recipes that we put up. Tomorrow we'll be doing a post for our members, but the videos are available for everyone. As far as the sourdough tutorial, I do have a sourdough tutorial that teaches you how to make your starter from day 1 through day 7, which is about how long it takes to ferment it to get to the right thing. And I also have how to make your very first sourdough bread and all of the steps, because there are a lot of steps. It is not hard at all. It takes time in the sense that each step takes like 5 minutes, and but there's a lot of wait time in between the steps. I will say, when I started my sourdough journey, it was probably like the best thing ever, because sourdough bread is, first of all, amazing. And there's like a million things you can make with the discard. So I highly recommend it. We're going to go grab our banana bread out there. But before we do that, I'm going to give this a first flip. I like to flip my grilled cheeses when I'm making them twice so that they get melted all the way through and a nice crispy edge. So this is not going to be the final end product. We will be toasting them again on each side. But let's check out our banana bread and see where we're at with it. See if it needs a little bit more time or if it is perfect and ready. It looks about ready. Now you just want to touch and make sure you have a nice firm top, which I do. If your top dents in when you bake it, that means it needs a minute or 2 longer. So these are perfect. They are looking gorgeous. And I will say, I think my kids are going to be so happy because they love banana bread and they love pumpkin bread. They love that pumpkin spice. So banana spice bread, I think, is going to be delicious. I haven't made these in a while, but I used in here what I think makes them really nice. There's 4 full bananas in here. So each loaf has about a half a banana in it. And then we use a cup of brown sugar, which gives you this nice caramel color, a whole tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice, which is going to give you this really lovely fall spice flavor to it. And then it should be extra moist and tender. We use butter in there, which again, I think gives you a much better end product. But I think these, because they're in the mini loaves, they don't overbake, which means they don't dry out, which means you have a nice, really moist, delicious banana bread. Okay, let's get the rest of this stuff prepped up. We're going to chop up our chicken. We'll throw it into our salad. We'll cut up our avocados. Then we're going to mince up our spices and make our vinaigrette for thing. And we will plate everything up.
You have a question? Do you have the banana bread cool in the pan?
So I let it cool in the pan for about 5 minutes, and then I pop them all out. I don't leave it in there too long. If you try to take it out right away, what is going to happen is your banana bread can snag and then fall apart. So I always try to let it sit for 5 minutes so that it retracts away from the side of the pan, and then it will come out effortlessly. Okay, let's put our chicken in here for our salad, and we'll get our avocados sliced up and tossed in there as well. And then in just a second, we'll be able to do our flip of our grilled cheese. There we go. I'm trying to peel it off so I can get a nice kind of cubing up on it.
You got a few questions asking where you got the loaf pan.
The loaf pan, I believe this is I'm going to see if I can see the logo on it. I think it's a Wilton loaf pan, but I do believe I have this in my Amazon storefront for you guys to check out there. That link's on our page. I actually have 2 loaf pans. I have a KitchenAid one, which is a little bit heavier duty, and I love it. And then I have this one. So the KitchenAid loaf pan is a thicker metal, which means it does a little slower cook on it. And with quick breads, I like to use a thinner metal cake pan. Okay, let's see. We've got our avocado here. Let me wash my hands because I got a lot on there. It took a hot minute to peel it. We're gonna kind of cube these up, and then we'll add it into our salad as well. So gotta love avocado and chicken together. And these avocados were, you know how they are. You've got them ripe for about a day before they go bad. Okay, let's make up this delicious thing, but we'll flip our grilled cheeses first and get. Now this last flip, we're gonna do a flip on each side, is going to be the final kind of crisping up part. So I'm actually gonna rotate them and put their peaks in because that part of my pan will be a little bit hotter, and we'll see if we can get a nice kind of crisp up on there. Okay, let's make our salad dressing, and then our grilled cheeses will be halfway through our salad dressing mix. We should be able to flip them. Okay, for this, I'm doing a creamier balsamic vinaigrette. So I'm going to make it creamy. What we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of mayo in it, but we will also still use like vinegar and balsamic things. I'm going to put in about, I'm going to say I want about 2 tablespoons of mayo. So that's about 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So kind of equal parts. There we go. And then 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. I love this thing. This is a salad dressing shaker, and it has measurements on the side here, so you know exactly how much to put in without having to measure everything out. And then we are going to put in my lemon juice from half of a lemon. This is going to add a really fresh note to it. Okay. And we've got this base part. Now let's add in our fresh herbs, and then of course some garlic, salt, and onion powder. For the fresh herbs today, I have our parsley, basil, and then fresh oregano. So for the oregano, I'm going to just peel off the leaves so I'm not putting any little twigs in our salad dressing. And the other ones we will mince. We're going to mince it all up together, but I don't need to de-twig them for this. Here we go. And I'm going to just take kind of that whiter part off. I'm going to do just a small dice on this, and then we're going to add it in there. We'll dice it up more, but just to get a kind of a start on it. And now I'm going to mince up all of these fresh herbs. And now you could definitely use dried herbs, and it will still taste great with dried herbs. The fresh ones just makes it a little bit more fresh for it. Okay. And then we'll flip our grilled cheeses here in just a second, because I can start to see that cheese is melting, which is going to be delicious. My son, who gets home from middle school in like a little bit, always comes home and he's like, "What'd you make for dinner?" They would call it his second lunch, and he's like, "I can't wait," because they start school so early, and his lunch is at like 10:30 in the morning. So when he gets home at 3 o'clock, he is pretty hungry. There we go. So now we've got our herbs nice and finely minced up. And this is, again, you want to have it pretty fine because you don't want to have big chunks of leaves in your dressing. So just mince it up nicely. Here we go. Let me flip this real quick. Beautiful. Look at that gorgeous crust on that one is the star. I'm going to rotate this guy up here so he can get the good crust melt on that one. Okay, let's get this salad dressing mixed up. We need our garlic salt. Now, mayo has salt in it, and it's so things, but you're going to want to put about a teaspoon of garlic salt in here. And then we're going to use a little bit of onion powder, about a teaspoon. This is going to give it a nice kind of savory flavor to it, which is really lovely. You could also add pepper in here if you wanted. Let's put our lid on. Make sure you close it up at the top. And we're going to give it a good shake. Here we go. And now we've got our delicious vinaigrette. Okay, well, let's get ready to plate our lunch here in just a second. I'm going to slide this out of the way. And let's bring our salad over here. We can actually, I'm going to get some tongs. We can toss our salad with our vinaigrette real quick on here for this. So we're going to take it. We'll toss it to kind of coat it all up. So here it is. It's nice. It's not super thick, but it's a nice, thicker, creamier vinaigrette. I'm going to pour it all over. I like to reserve a little bit in case I need it some more on there. And then let's give it a good toss. And this will have that nice kind of tanginess from the lemon and the balsamic, but the creaminess that the mayo gives you, which gives you kind of like a ranch texture to it, which will be delicious. Okay, let's serve these guys up. I'm gonna move my stuff over here. This way I have a cutting board to cut them on. I move my extra. Look at that beautiful crust on there and gorgeous. So we've got two wonderful grilled cheeses here, and I'm gonna get a plate. Okay, so for lunch today, we have our sourdough chicken grilled cheese with some red onions in there. You can see that cheese melting out there. Delicious. On our homemade sourdough bread, we baked that up last night. We put a whole chicken breast in here that we kind of filleted and seasoned up with Worcestershire, garlic, salt, Mrs. Dash's original blend, and all that jazz for a delicious sandwich. And then we have this creamy balsamic salad, chock full of avocados, cucumbers, peppers, tomatoes, red onions, and some more of our chicken with, again, our homemade creamy balsamic vinaigrette, which is loaded full of fresh basil, parsley, and oregano for a delicious salad and grilled cheese. And let's not forget our beautiful banana bread. This is our pumpkin spice banana bread. Look at how delicious and moist this is in here. And then to finish off our sandwich, I like to add a little bit of barbecue sauce to dip it in to give you that nice little kind of crunch. I don't like to put it in my sandwich because it causes it to get a little soggy, but you put it on the side and you'll be able to dip it in for a perfect little barbecue hit. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page, so if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to that link, search for what we made. So our grilled cheese, our chicken grilled cheese, and our homemade salad, and our pumpkin spice banana bread. And you can always watch and bake along and cook along with me again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear. We've got our hex-clad griddle pan, our frying pans in there. I've got my cutting boards and my knives, all the different gadgets and cooking utensils I use. Griddle pan or frying pans in there. I've got my cutting boards and my knives, all the different gadgets and cooking utensils I use.